Hello everyone. I'm Karamo once again, and I have a video that I wanted to share with you, which is about how do we manage missing values in our data set. Usually, when we're working with some sort of data, and this data contain a lot of missing values, so we have different ways that we wanted to manipulate these missing values, and one of the ways is that we do nothing with the missing values. We just leave the missing values that way in the data set. So that's an easy one. You just let the algorithm handle the missing data, and some algorithms can factor in those missing values and learn the best inputting values for the missing data based on the training loss introduction. Examples like XGBoost model. And the other thing that we can do with the missing data is that we can delete the rows that has the missing values. But this has some implications on our data because it's definitely going to reduce the dimension of our data. And the other thing we can do is just to use the imputation method using the measures of central tendency, such as the mean, median, the mode. So this demonstration, I'm going to show you how do we input missing values using the measures of central tendency, such as the mean, the median, or the mode. Okay, so this demonstration, we're going to use one of the data set called long cap data. So let's go ahead and load the data. But before we load the data, there is this specific package that we have to install. If you don't have it installed in your computer, you can go ahead and type installed packages HMISC. Then you install this package and go ahead and load it. So I already have it installed in my computer and I don't have to install it again. So after you install it, just type library HMISC. So you just run the library and the library is loaded in your console. So we'll go ahead and load the data set that we'll be working with today. Okay, we're going to work with the long cap data for these demonstrations, and I'm going to show you how do we input missing values using the mean, the median, or the mode. So we have seen that our data set is loaded here with 30 observations and 4 variables. So let's go ahead and see the first 5 rows of our data. Okay, so this is the first 5 rows of our data, which demonstrates the variables we have, and we have patient's ID, age of the patient, height, and smoke. We have seen that we have got some missing values in each of the variables we have here except patient's ID. So let's go ahead and see how many missing values do we have in each of the variables. So to do that, we call on a function called callSum. Okay, so after we run this code, we've seen that 7 rows in smoke variable have missing values. For the height variable, 9 rows with missing values. And for the age variable, 9 and 10 rows with missing values. Right? So what we're going to do was that we're going to input the missing values that we have in age with the mean, the height with the median, and smoke with the mode, because we have seen that age is an integer, height too is an integer, but smoke is a categorical variable that we have seen from here, 1 and 0. So 1 demonstrates that the patients smoke, and 0 indicates that patients do not smoke. So now, to import this, first thing you have to do is that you have to see the distribution of the data. If the data is if the variable is normally distributed, then the best estimate for the missing values could be the mean. But if your variable is either left skewed or right skewed, then the best estimate to use to input the missing values could be the median. And if it is a categorical variable like we have seen from smoke in our data, then we can go with the mode and take the majority class and import the missing values with that. Okay, so this video will not go ahead to look into check the whether our variable age is normally distributed or not. but it is an example that you need to follow before you just go ahead to do your imputation using the mean or the median for continuous variables. It is advisable first to determine the distribution of that variable before you just go ahead to do your imputation. Okay, but the video will not go into that. We will assume that age variable is normally distributed and height is not normally distributed. It's either left or right skewing, right? So we go ahead to fill height with median and age with the mean. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the imputation. So to do the imputation, mean for age, median for height, and mode for smoke. Yeah, for the smoking status, we're gonna use the mode, the majority class. But first, let's see the mean of age group. So mean of age. Yeah. So first, before we import the age variable with the mean, we have to see what is the mean of the age variable. Now, what is the mean of the age variable while excluding the missing values? So we have seen that the mean is 24.7. So we're going to use 24.7 to input the missing values in the age variable. So let's calculate the median for the height variable. Okay, so the median for the height variable was 170. So that means we're going to use 170 to input the missing values that we have in height variable. And for the mode, we're going to see the table command whereby you're going to see the categories of how many ones we have and how many twos we have. And to accomplish this, we said okay, so we have seen that 0 appears 8 times and 1 appears 15 times. So our majority class is 15. So now we will go ahead and input the missing values with 1 instead of 0 because 1 was our majority class. So now after asserting all these things, we know the mean, we know the median, and we know the mode. So what we're going to do, we will go ahead to input the values. Okay, let's start with the age first. We're gonna input age variable with the mean. So we said we're gonna use the mean to input it, right? So the next thing we're gonna do is to input median with height. And median. And finally, the mode with the smoking variable. So here, we are not going to indicate modes. Rather, we're going to take the standard value that we're going to use to input it. So instead of typing their mode, we're going to use the standard value. That was 1 that we're going to input because 1 is our majority class. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. Cool. We have seen that there is no error, so perfectly run. And we run the second one too, and we run the third one too. All right. Okay. So now, when we go ahead to see our data, so if we see our data now to determine if what we have done here takes effect on our data set or not. So we're gonna say, let's view our data. Okay, so we have seen that all the missing values are now being filled up with a specific value. For the age, Then we fill them with the mean value that was 24.7, and for the height we fill it with the median that was 170, and for smoke we fill it with 1. So if you look at the class again, for smoking was 0 was 8, 1 is 15, right? So let's see again how much we have. Table, and we bring our data frame and smoke. We have seen that now 1 increment 22. That was incrementing 1 to 22. Before it was just 15. So the remaining we are missing values. So now it's 22 because all the missing values we are changed to 1 and added to 15. That makes it 22. And for the height variable 2, let's confirm that there is no missing values in our data. We call some function. So we have seen that all the missing values we have in our data have been filled up. So this is the what I want to show you in this video about how do we fill missing values. So the first thing we have to do is load our package, and after that we load our data and we see what kind of data we're working with. How does our data look like? Looking at the headphones and pick only the first 5 rows. So after that you determine how many missing values we have in each of the columns that we have here, right? So we knew that we just assumed that the distribution of age variable is Gaussian, it's normally distributed. So we went ahead to fill with the mean. So, and we assume that the distribution for the height variable is not normally distributed. It's either left or right skewed. So then we went ahead to fill it with the median. And for the smoke, it is a categorical variable. So we cannot use the mean or the median. It's going to give us a wrong estimate. So we use the majority class. So first we determine the class of each of the inputs we have, 1 and 0. How many ones appear? How many times 0 appears? So the majority class, we will use that as a constant value to fill up the missing values. So it's worth knowing there is something we have here called NA true and true. So here we type NA remove because in each variable there are missing values. So NA remove, it's going to remove the missing values, and the remaining values that we have, it's going to calculate the mean value from that. If we don't include this one here, the output we're going to get from only this is going to be NA, because NA cannot be crossed, right? So after that, we input the values. After now, we know the mean, we know the median, and then we know our majority class. We go ahead now to input the values. So we fill age with the mean, the height with the median, and smoke with 1 because 1 was our majority class. So after that, when we went ahead to weigh our data, we realized that there was no missing values again. So as we have seen here, there is no missing values in our data. And our dimension of our data still remains constant. It's 30 and 4. Look at the dimension again. Our data is 30 observation or 30 rows and 4 variables. So this is all I want to show you in this demonstration, and thank you very much for your time.